Yo, what's going on? This is One Piece chapter 1073 analysis. I'm going to be talking about everything in this chapter that I thought was interesting. And this chapter was a straight up banger, yo. This chapter went crazy. First of all, at the top of the chapter, we get the cover page. Germa 66's Cold-Blooded Voyage, Volume 29. In this chapter, we see that Vegapunk was awarded the Ibel Peace Prize for developing the GP flower. So it's like gunpowder flower. And I think that's pretty like on brand for Vegapunk. We know that he's a good guy at heart, but he still knows that he has to do some bad things, like, work for the government in order to get his like goodness to go out into the world. So I like seeing that, in the past cover stories, the other three scientists, Judge and Queen and Caesar, they were like, working on bad stuff, but he's always like, I guess, undermining them, just trying to make the weapons that they may turn into freaking flowers. I think that this is still like the Germa 66's cover page, so I expect this to go into how Mads like deformed, basically how that came to be. And I want to know if in the next cover page we're gonna start seeing Buckin and her freeloader status, and maybe even going into cloning and stuff like that. It's basically confirmed that Stussy is going to be some type of mythical zone. You see her use an after image technique. I think that is something. We see her use the after image technique, and we know that that's something more with Logias, like where they're able to like disappear and stuff like that. I guess Robin is as well, but it's kind of like more like a Logia ability. And we know that the mythical zones have like a part Paramecia with their zone, or part Logia with their zone. So like her power just seems really intense, and she mentions it that she's not more powerful than Kaku or even Lucci, but she says that she got the jump on them, and that they explain that that's why she's able to take them down. But Lucci's not looking so good. Man's taking bare L's. Yeah, the wings, her character design is really cool. I'm really a big fan of this. One thing I will also say that I can't not mention is the fact that the bird, I think his name's not Karoo, but he's like basically the little pigeon that's on Lucci's shoulder. She did not take him down. So I wonder if that is a thing that could be, that could play some meaning in the future. What is this bird exactly? Zoro versus PX Hawk. It's like crazy foreshadowed fight right now. I really want to see what PX Hawk will do. I want to know if in the future, with what happened at the beginning of the Egghead arc, where they're talking about like the will of things, if maybe Hawk's like will to be the best swordsman will make it disobey orders just to fight Zoro. I really want to see Zoro versus PX Hawk. PX Hawk is like of all the Seraphim, PX Hawk is obviously the most interesting, and I think that Oda is trying to make us really like understand PX Hawk more than the others. I also find it funny that all the Seraphim are right there in front of him, Kuma and Jinbei, but like Zoro doesn't even care. He's more focused on Mihawk. Like Mihawk has been getting so much more attention lately in the manga ever since Cross Guild. So like I think that is very interesting. Stussy admits to being the mole, so this is the person that they contacted a few chapters ago. I think that was a little surprising that she was revealed so quickly, but I appreciate the fact that she was revealed this quickly instead of it being like chapters and chapters and chapters until we forget, and then eventually she's revealed. Unlike, remember with Hiyori, when she healed the samurai, we all knew it was Hiyori, but it took us so long to like find out that was her. In this chapter, we also see Edison. When he's calling off the attacks of the Seraphim, he is saved by Sanji. And then we get like a little look at Sanji's, like, we get a little look at Lilith, who's happy that Edison is safe. So I wonder if that will change her perspective on Sanji, and like maybe she will start to like him. Sanji kind of has like a way with ladies that way. He does stuff like that, and then they end up having like a little crush on him. So I wonder if that is something that she would have, or even is capable of having. We get a nice cool shot of all the Seraphim like just standing looking at Zoro, and Zoro kind of confused. I thought that was pretty sick. Seraphim Jinbei is huge. And then lastly, one thing that I see everyone talking about is Vegapunk went missing. So I wonder if Vegapunk teleported, or if Vegapunk is just in the room with Bonnie. It doesn't mention anything about Bonnie, so I wonder if Vegapunk just ran away. This is just like something that we're just gonna have to wait and see. I don't know what this could mean, but I guess Bonnie might just look in the memories and then we'll find out. Hopefully, I feel like in the next chapter won't start off with the Bonnie flashback, but hopefully by the end we get into the Bonnie flashback. That's what I want to see for sure. The next big part of this goes right over to Sphinx Island. It shows that Whitebeard Jr. protected Marco's homeland, or Whitebeard's homeland, saying that like this was his homeland, you know, like this is my dad's homeland, so I'll protect it too. This was like a really standout surprise for me. It made me start to think that maybe the same thing that happened with Kuma is also happened with Whitebeard Jr., where people think that Whitebeard Jr. is like this menace, this destructor, this crazy guy, but in reality he's just like misunderstood in his own demented way, because like he's obviously like, you know, two apples short of an apple pie, but I think that he has at least he has the good nature to protect innocent people or protect what's important to him from people who just want to take advantage of others. But we don't really get to see him. You don't really get to see him say much about like his thoughts, but he just kind of like protects his pappy's home. We do get the introduction of Miss Buckin, aka Buckingham Stocky. We do get the introduction of Miss Buckin, aka Buckingham Stussy, and it says that she's also a former member of the Rocks, a self-proclaimed scientist, and Mad's resident freeloader. So it's like kind of all of the things that she's known for, you know. So that kind of like with the cover stories that we've gotten the picture that she for a time was in Mad's. She with this saying self-proclaimed scientist, she probably didn't do much in Mads. It says resident freeloader, so she probably didn't do much, left and joined Rocks and said that she was going to be a scientist for Rocks, and she could have been how all the DNA, or maybe she was in Rocks before Mads. So it's like I think that could also be something we get in the backstory. I don't know if this backstory will relate to Kuma's backstory, but I really want that Rocks backstory so badly. I totally see why they didn't unload it with Kaido, and whenever or if ever Kaido makes an appearance in the story again, we will get it at that point. I do know that Kaido, like with everything we're seeing from Mads, the first good clone was a Mads employee. The first failed clone, which is Whitebeard Jr., would have been also... Sorry. The first good clone was a Rocks pirate, which is Stussy. The failed clone, which is Whitebeard Jr., would be... The failed clone could have even been after Stussy. You know, it could have been something that Buckin made and Buckin failed at it. So, like, that was Whitebeard Jr., and so that just really makes me think. It really makes me believe that there are a couple other clones. Like, I feel like Blackbeard is a clone of Rocks. I feel like Big Mom is... Or that... I feel like Yamato could be a clone of Kaido. And I feel like Bonnie could be a clone of Big Mom. And that Big Mom one, I really started thinking about it, thinking about Bonnie's personality. She's really quick to anger. She's a glutton for food, and she likes to protect what's important to her. Those are the things that I would say are most important to Big Mom too. You know, Big Mom's extremely protective. She loves food, and she's quick to anger. So like, that's Big Mom. So I think Bonnie has those traits, and it's possible that and when you even when you look at Yamato and Kaido, like Yamato loves battle, so does Kaido, you know. So like Kaido doesn't really have much of a personality outside of that. He likes drinking. I don't know if Yamato is a drinker. We haven't seen that yet, but I feel like that return to Wano will be an eye-opening trip, especially when we have Vegapunk on our boat with us, able to like expand upon all the stuff that we already know. We do know that we have to be in Wano at some point, because that's where the other ancient weapon is. That's where the underground city is. So like, it has to happen at some point. Lastly, Miss Buckingham says she name drops Dr. Vegapunk in the chapter. I think that that's super important, because now that gives Marco kind of something to move towards. I don't know why he would, but like, she says we can prove it. So I guess if Marco wants to prove that he's Vegapunk, that he's Whitebeard's son, that Whitebeard Jr. is Whitebeard's son, then he'd have to go see Vegapunk. Vegapunk's going to Elbaf, assuming that they find him, he's going to Elbaf, so Marco would go in that direction. And then Marco could find out the answer. And if Marco does find out the answer, I wonder if he will stage the same thing that could happen, like a return to Impel Down, you know? Another prison break, which I'm all for because, you know, I want Mr. 2 back in action. So I'm all for that. Lastly, it was like the mention that the Saint J. Garcia Saturn, one of the 5 elders, is on his way to Egghead. That's a big deal. I wonder if he is a power play. We do know that with him, he will have ultimate control over the Seraphim. That was shown in like that Seraphim hierarchy. So that will be definitely scary for the Straw Hats. I do wonder what else could be in store with the Straw Hats in terms of like just fighting. Is it going to be he takes control and now it's like an all-out brawl, or is it he takes control and the Straw Hats escape? I do wonder if J. Garcia Saturn has like strength equivalent to Luffy, a devil fruit maybe. These are so many questions about him, about what he's gonna play in this like upcoming arc. One thing about his name is like he was named after Saturn. So if you include the ancient weapons, which are Pluton, Pluto, Poseidon, which is Neptune, then Uranus, which is Uranus. You know, those are the 3 furthest planets in our galaxy from the sun. And his name being Saturn made me think the other planets' names, or the other elders' names, must be Mars, Jupiter, Mercury, and Venus. So Saturn is the god of time and liberation. Mars is the god of war. Jupiter is the god of sky and thunder. Mercury is the god of money and commerce. And Venus is the god of desire, sex, and fertility. So, like, I do wonder if maybe these 5 elders are taking up mantles that aren't really meant for them. So, like, if you think about who could be a god of time and liberation, that would have to be Toki in my mind with that devil fruit. Like, that, if Luffy has the sun god fruit, Toki would have to have this Saturn god fruit, you know? In terms of name, because like Toki went through time and liberated Wano with what she did realistically, right? God of War, that would sound like someone. Mars, the god of war, that would sound like Kaido in my mind, just because of what Kaido is all about. Jupiter, god of the sky and thunder, you know, it's my boy NL, I gotta say that. Mercury, god of money and commerce. I couldn't really put that together in my mind just yet. I'm still working on that one. But Venus, the god of desire, sex, and fertility, would have to be Boa. She's the most desired character in all of it. And then that made me also think that Nico would be the sun god, leaving one more role for like a moon god, which would be Imu. This whole thing has me thinking about Sailor Moon a lot. So like those are just the thoughts that really appeared in my head. I want to know what you guys think. I'm still working on a lot of these thoughts and where they can lead, but I still think that they're worth thinking about because Saturn isn't just a specific name. We've already had those planets be mentioned in the ancient weapons, and now this guy's named Saturn, and the remaining 5 planets are the same amount of elders, and we know that the sun god is Nika. So like, I wonder if these things are all supposed to line up in a certain way, and how exactly they're supposed to line up. So let me know what you guys think. Like and subscribe if you're feeling the vibe. Take care. Have a good night.